Niweke ndani, Taputei said to the taxi driver. I suspect Taputei is going to Ruiru ndani. It's the only stage I know you have to be specific if you're going ndani or outside. Reminds me of the song Kuja Ruiru by Auka Hari and Pet the Poet. Kuja Ruiru, si basi ukuje Ruiru. Kuja Ruiru, si basi ukuje Ruiru. Kuja Ruiru, si ukam Ruiru. Peng to peng wanakuja Ruiru. Machali zao wanakaa Ruiru. Baba yako alilala Ruiru. Alikusho anashamba Ruiru. Kumbe alikuja kulimana Ruiru. Westi not tupatane Ruiru. Pale Kamaki side za Ruiru. Nimeweka pin hizo side za Ruiru. Hey, so many Ruirus. Okay, now I lost track of the lyrics. Okay, From za Westi huwa fanifani, from za Ruiru ndio kalikali, pale wakalusi, magizani, si utakam ni kuchore mikakati, pale Ruiru ndani. I'll attach the link, of course. Niweke ndani, Taputei said to the taxi driver while she chewed on her mint gum. The driver braked and dimmed the headlights. Good thing, driver, because the weekend would have been there being like, ooh, I'm blinded by the light. The windshield wipers swung to one side. Ooh, you got me moving side to side. Okay. The windshield wipers swung to one side with a squeak, clearing the shivering droplets on the glass. Jolly Sola's embossed logo grinned at them from the company gate, its smile unable to fight off the drool from the trickling raindrops. A message dinged into Taputei's smartphone. She scrolled down the cracked screen. The square outline of a blurry image loaded. An oval shape formed against a background of earth tones. A mocha-colored young face popped up. Its tongue was out, almond eyes glistening. Another face formed in the background. Its eyebrows seemed to float high above the forehead. Oh wow. Shots fired. Its tongue was out too. Ata hamfanani. She typed the message and hit send. She hastily added a smiley face to accompany it. Tapi, nipige honi. The driver interrupted her phone chat, calling her by the name that she had used on the taxi hailing app. Kuna CCTV. He should know you are here. Tapi said. The driver cranked his neck and looked upward through the windscreen. Another message popped up on Tapi's smartphone screen. Hater. A frown followed by a smile emoji followed. The message was from the face in the background. The one whose eyebrows be floating high. Mumbua was bragging. She had Tapi's daughter Chebet. Mumbua's eyes were also almond-colored. She was wearing contacts. The witch was trying to match Chebet. Bile scalded Tapi's throat. She navigated to the photos folder. Her finger hovered over the delete option, but her heart opted to preserve Chebet's frozen smile. The gate shook, then rolled open. The taxi drove in. A guard in a hoodie, presumably Daraja, bent forward to check the passengers. Tapi rolled the window down a crack. Ni mimi. The driver ended the corporate ride. Tapi stepped out. Jolly Sola would be billed. Daraja ushered the taxi out and locked the gate. Tapi felt his eyes on her. She turned back. It wasn't Daraja. Sorry, the guard said, coming around to face Tapi. Daraja ni mgonjwa, niko shift yake. His face was wound up tighter than a drum skin. My name is Podo. Okay, sawa. She took a few steps forward. Podo remained still, his frame anchored to the polished wooden floor of the office porch. Ebu nipite tafadhali. Sorry, he stepped aside. Hunikumbuki? Hapana. Tapi rubbed off the drizzle drops on her suede coat sleeves and stepped into the lobby. She scanned the hybrid open plan office. Each department was partitioned. The partition baby. Beyonce. Okay. The top half of a partition was made of plexiglass, while the bottom was gypsum board. Because I'm a gypsy. Are you coming with me? I might steal your clothes and wear them if they fit me. I don't make agreements because life has already. Because I'm a gypsy, not a gypsum. Okay. The top half of a partition was made of plexiglass, while the bottom was gypsum board. She was the only one assigned for the Saturday night customer care shift. The office entrance's door slam startled her. She looked behind. The guard's dark eyes sucked in her shaky stare like a black hole. Her low block shoe heels clicked against the floor. Soft footsteps trailed behind her. Her heart thumped. She spun and stopped chewing gum. Podo put his palms together. Pole, nimesahau palicho iko. Tapi sighed and pointed to her left. Straight, side ya left. Podo stared blankly at her as she gave way. His stale, sweaty odor drifted into her nostrils despite the night's chill. Enda tu, it's unisex, she said, smelling traces of alcohol in his breath. She dipped her hand into her handbag. Ulipata mtu mwingine hapa? He scratched his head. Priya, alitoka kwa haraka, alisema pole hakuweza kuhandover. He lingered. Okay, wacha nipigie bwanangu. Although she was divorced, she wanted Podo to think she had somebody checking on her, that somebody was now under Mumbua's seductive spell. The woman, her 7-year-old daughter, now called Mother. Podo scurried away. Tapi's fingertips brushed against a water bottle cap. This new guard was giving her bad vibes. Go away, go away, go away. If you're only gonna bring bad vibes, bad vibes, bad vibes, bad vibes. She cleared her throat, waiting until she heard the muffled shut of the washroom door. Silence enveloped her. She pulled out the bottle from her handbag and took a sip. A soft heat sank to her stomach. A gentle buzz floated into her head. It inflated and made her toes tingle. I don't know if they're tingling with excitement or fear though. How many bad vibrations. Everything will be under Tapi's watch for the night. The boardroom was the largest space, fitted with a 42-inch screen for presentations and conference calls with Jolly Solar's investors. Other workspace partitions housed the customer care, technology, and human resource departments. HR was the smallest of them, technology the largest. The CEO normally sat with the techies, although she sometimes moved to other departments depending on her schedule. She looked for the customer care key at the top frame of the technology department's door. She felt its cold serrated edge, grasped it, and walked to her department. She slipped it into the slot and turned the handle. It opened without a struggle. It was not locked. Priya must have had an emergency. She placed her bag on the swivel chair and dialed Priya's number. The number you dialed is currently switched off. She hit the call icon again. The mechanical woman's voice delivered the same message. Footsteps echoed. She glanced up and saw Podo walking towards her with a close-lipped grin. Tapi approached the door, struggling to look as casual as possible, cell phone pressed against her ear and eyes fixed on her desktop. She shut the door and pressed the lock button that made it possible to only open from inside. Yes, babe. You can pass by with my KFC before you go home, she said loudly. The guard will open for you. She hung up and sat on her swivel seat. It creaked and leaned on one side, almost dropping her to the floor. She hit the floor. Next thing you know, she went low, 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 low. Damned Priya must have switched their seats again. Tappy saw Podo stop out of the corner of her eye. She took a deep breath and switched on her desktop. Her eyes drifted to the customer care message board. Priya had left no call that she needed to follow up on. Tappy ventured into her handbag for her water bottle. After taking another sip, she dialed Priya again. Her cell phone was still off. Yeah, this is off. She took back her swivel seat from Priya's desk and dropped her butt into it. Sa tuseme aliketi kitako ama. She wiped off a wine red spot from its right arm, letting the buzz of her drink take her away. She just needed a minute. The door budged. Tappy froze. The warm buzz in her head withdrew. Podo was behind the door, his upper half visible through the plexiglass. He lifted his arm. Podo was holding a severed hand. Tappy screamed. The bloody hand had a cell phone in its grip. A picture of a round-faced toddler was imprinted on the back. It was Priya's phone. It was Priya's bloody hand. The wine-red spot on her chair's right arm. Was it Priya's blood? Podo stepped back and kicked the door. The handle shot out and broke a desktop screen. He lunged forward. Tappy gasped for air. She reached for the desktop mouse and swung hard. A mouse, really? Okay, it's not the best time to be laughing, but yo. She reached for the desktop mouse. Meow. Now, if Podo was a cat, it would make sense for them to fight back. Okay, this is going south. Dark humor for a thriller, not good. Tappy gasped for air. She reached for the desktop mouse and swung hard, hitting Podo's temple. He fell on top of her, grabbing her wrist. The force of their weight sent the swivel chair backward. Tappy's head hit the edge of her desk. Podo's wet raincoat scraped against Tappy's face. His acrid, sweaty smell choked her. He thrust his waist into her groin, letting out a deep, guttural grunt. The abyss in his pupils had a vicious blaze. His smile broadened. Mti imekuamsha. His fingers prodded under her trouser waistband. He pulled and tugged it, nails grazing her skin. Ulijikojolea? Tappy shoved her hand to his groin and pulled hard. Her glowing acrylic nails bent under the force. Podo shrieked. His torso rose, giving her room to twist away from under him just before he crashed hammer fists on her. She found her footing, but her heel twisted. She tripped towards the door. She threw a glance back. Podo was still reeling from pain. She shut the door and ran. Podo stood up and wore her handbag. Oh yeah, because now he's been locked. Okay. Saliva dripped from his lips like a dog. Okay. He pulled one strap over his right shoulder, rubbing it with his fingers. He swayed his hips as he approached her. A hollow laugh boomed from his mouth. Tappy bumped against the main office entrance door. She twisted the handle. It did not budge. Podo sashayed towards her. Her only escape was to the boardroom. She rushed in and locked the door. She took a chair and leaned the top edge against the door handle. Podo paused and watched her. She opened a window and started screaming. Yeah, I don't want to break nothing by screaming out loud. Raindrops flew into her mouth. Through the security grill, the drizzle had built up to a torrent. Wind and thunder overtook her voice. Thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Okay, in this case, wind and the thunder. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay. She had to contact somebody. Her cell phone was in her handbag, the boardroom phone. She could call external numbers. She pounced on it and lifted the headset. Podo seemed frozen in time. She pressed the headset earpiece against her earlobe. It was silent, no dial tone. She tapped the hook twice. Silence. The only sound was white noise from the raindrops hitting the windows. A skewed smile grew on Podo's face. He had cut all the lines to the outside world. He lifted his hand, her jaw pumped, looking around for anything that she could imagine as a weapon. Na tumetoka kuimba song ya Imagine Dragons. Oh wait, it's this part where you just wish the verse that says, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." You just wish it does prosper, because man, all you need is this weapon. Podo can't be under the saving grace of that verse. Let's see how this goes. That she could imagine as a weapon. She moved back and bumped into a whiteboard. Her fingers ran over the pen tray at the bottom. A foot-long stick teased her fingertips. It was a pointer. She held on to the rubber-tipped end and tucked it under her coat sleeve. Podo squeezed his hand into a fist, his pinky finger stretched out. That's weird. How do you form a fist and your pinky is... Let's see. Okay. It had a nail as long as a railway. Mwisho wa reli. It had a nail as long as a railway. He started tapping it against the plexiglass. One tap, then two followed. A chill broke into her. She pulled the window shut. Her eyes fell on blood dripping from the antique wooden cabinet in the farthest corner of the room. She glanced at Podo. Her reflection was superimposed on him against the plexiglass. He bored into her soul. She looked away, moving towards the cabinet, praying that no more parts of Priya were within. Her fingers reached for the brass handle shaped like a pair of wings. She quivered. Her neck steamed as she formed a solid grip. She held her breath and pulled the doors open. A blackened severed hand fell out. She stumbled back. Her rear end landed on the carpeted floor with a thud. Her palms struggled to backpedal the rest of her lagging body. Bark textured nails jutted out of the fingertips of the severed hand. It belonged to a man. Daraja. Dark humor alert. While some people are busy burning bridges, Podo is busy killing the bridge. Daraja, yeah, I'm out. Let's finish this. Why are you doing this? The words staggered out of her mouth but were erased before they reached Podo. She turned to him, tears on the brim. Bado hunikumbuki. He banged on the plexiglass, then twisted the handle. The movement was light and quick, a mockery of her helplessness. Tapi moved as far away from the severed hand and Podo as possible. The picture of Priya's daughter, her wavy dark hair just like Priya's, flooded her mind. She imagined Chebet being raised by the other woman, Mumbua. She yearned for a Buzz. That reminds me of Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story. He is a hero in the animation, but the Buzz she means here is different. So anyway, she yearned for a Buzz. Podo stepped back. One kick and the door flew open, sending the nuts and bolts at Tapi and the chair spinning to a corner. She pressed her hand against the wall. Her heart slammed against her chest. Blood burst On her fingers and toes, her ears burned with a scorching flame. Every bit of her senses neared the edge of explosion. Podo's grin grew wider. Tiny bits of his tongue bulged out of the wide gaps between his teeth. A wrinkle formed between his eyes. He looked like a smiling clown with a needle stuck under his nails. "Don't do this," Tappy said under her breath. Podo inched closer, then jumped towards her. Tappy lifted her hand and drove the pointer into his eyeball. There was a squish, then a pop. His shriek pierced her ears. She pushed him aside and ran. At the main door, her sweaty palms slipped on the handle. She rubbed them against her coat and tried again. Podo groaned and moaned. He had the keys. Who got the keys to the... Okay, he had the keys. He was still in the boardroom. The walls caved in. The overhead lights flew past in dazzling streaks. Her legs buckled. Something pushed against Tappy's back. "Mlango imekwama," said a deep male voice. It was Manu, one of the engineers in Jolly Solar. "No, there's something against it," a shaky female voice said. Nanny's lisp was familiar, the bane of many hushed office jokes. She was the office cook and cleaner. Another push. Tappy opened her eyes. A severe headache surged forward. The back of her head was wet. "Help!" A hand propped up Tappy's shoulder. Nanny's plump face appeared. Her caramel brown eyes narrowed. Madam, kichwa ina bleed. Help!" Tappy wanted to say much more, Tappy wanted to say much more, but that was the only word that escaped her bloody tongue. "Ngoja na come," Nanny said to Manu. "I should be the one." "Tulia Manu," Nanny said. A shadow formed in front of Tappy. Concerned eyes scrutinized her. The overhead light reflected off his shiny dome. "What happened, Tappy?" Tappy looked for words, but they zigzagged and fell off the edge of her thoughts. Time sped by and stood still at the same time. Manu's eyes widened. He choked. He struggled to speak, but only spasmed. Pain etched on his face. A hand pushed him aside. A knife protruded from the back of his neck. Nanny let go of the knife's handle and let him crumple to the floor. "Memuua," Nanny squawked to Tappy. Her face's pinched features were covered in tears. "Uliua mtoi wetu, then killed my hazi." She grabbed Tappy's coat collar. "You alcoholic tramp, you brought this on yourself." Her lisp became more pronounced. Her calloused hands grabbed and dragged Tappy to the kitchen. Tappy kicked to get to her feet, but her legs were anvils. My lord. "Please." Tappy's breathing became a steep climb on uneven steps. Each word was an effort. Sielewi. Her back scraped against the kitchen's concrete floor. Bits of her skin peeled off. "Of course huelewi," Nanny said. "Mtoi wetu alilose his med cover juu yako." Shiny objects fell around Tappy, each landing with a sharp clink. Shafts of sunrise sliced through the cutlery handles and blades. She trembled. Nanny waved a glistening blade in her face. "You think nobody knows? But Bwanangu alijua." "Bwanako?" Tappy shrank into herself. "Uliwacha drink kwa post yake. Tulikuwa tuna plan wedding." "What?" "Ulimlipa akufichie lakini boss alipoiget ulimruka. You never admitted it." "Hakuna mtu alimbelieve." "What? What are you talking about?" Tapi's speech tumbled. Hey, ata ukumbuki? The event was dragging at the bottom of her sea of nightmares. It surfaced bit by bit. It was the first month anniversary of sobriety. When she had slept on the day that her ex-husband was bringing Chebet to visit her. Priya had warned that their boss was onto her. Instead of sobering up, Tapi yearned for a drink. The buzz always made her relax. She had not seen Chebet in over 3 months. Priya was tired of covering up her mistakes. The pressure was building. So much pressure. Encanto, I'll attach that. If she only relaxed a bit, she thought. She had just wanted one sip. One led to another. Then she asked the guard to hide the bottle. He was also like her. He liked the buzz. The incident occurred more than a year ago, but she was back at it. Mint-infused chewing gum, mint leaves in her water bottles, and expensive citrus perfume. She used all that to hide, but she could not lie to herself. The drink was the reason she was only allowed to see Chebet on alternate weekends during the school holidays. There were many evenings she knew she did not deserve Chebet. The buzz mattered to her more than her daughter. Aww. Naona sasa unakumbuka. Neni pressed the blade against Tapi's neck. Open your mouth. Tapi's neck was soaking wet, a mixture of blood and sweat. Priya yuko wapi? Ameoga kwa damu yake kwa choo, pamoja na daraja. Neni's nose flared. Fungua mdomo. The blade's edge nicked Tapi's skin. Her erratic pulse compounded the piercing pain. Blood trickled down. Whatever I did to Podo, I am sorry. Podo? Neni shook her head. Jina yake ni Opio. Alisema jina yake ni Podo. Inakaa alikuwa anakucheza na ukachezeka. Neni's carrot fingers. Neni's carrot fingers squeezed Tapi's jaw open. Mungu wangu, you're still drunk. Tapi wiggled her jaw after Neni freed it. I'm sorry, Neni. I'm an alcoholic. I'm sorry about your child. I'm sorry about Opio. Neni removed Tapi's cell phone from the pocket and gave it to her. Unlock. Tapi did as she was told. Najua you have a daughter. Scroll to her picture. Chebet's picture, the one with her ex-husband's new wife in the background, loaded on the screen. I'm sorry, Tapi pleaded. Neni sneered. Mwambie kwa heri. Nakuaga mi kwa heri na mi. A blistering pain sank into Tapi's stomach. She choked on every breath. Her insides were on fire, shattering her organs to pieces. This girl is on fire. This girl is on fire. Neni, Neni. The snappy sound of high heels approached. The washroom. Are you okay? The police are on their way. The CEO's flowing blonde hair was tied in a high ponytail, but her eyes were wildfires. She took in the sight. Oh my God. It's okay, boss. Neni withdrew the knife from Tapi's stomach and launched herself at the CEO. I'm clearing this place of murderers. Tapi fell to her side, her cell phone still in her grip. Chebet still sticking her tongue out. Her new mother was behind her. She had to admit that they oddly looked alike. Another woman had taken her place. The CEO dropped to her knees, her neck sliced and bent at an odd angle. Tapi looked back at Chebet, her oval face preserved in her memory. Mumbua at the background, ready to take on her role. It was the last thing she saw. She shut her eyes. The end. So, as you saw during the first pages, those were 4 chapters. So the short story is called The Last Thing She Saw by Keith Kinambuga. About the author. He is a Kenyan storyteller and creative consultant. He has been a professional writer for over a decade and is a FIYAH, FIYAH Writers Grant 2022 recipient, and Sam Spiegel, Spiegel, International Film Seed to Script 2021 scholar. He has written for various award-winning Pan-African television shows and published novels, the most notable, The Rebirth of Syokimau and How I Did Not Become an Uber Driver. His new novel, The Matatu Slasher, is an urban crime horror story set in the Matatu culture. Available upon your order at Keith. All this is in lower caps, small caps. So it's Keith Kinambuga creative.odo. Odo is O-D-O-O. Almost rhymes with Podo. Odo.com. Or you can call him. His number is here. You can see it there. +254 723 823 638. In Swahili that will be 723823638, zikiwa ni nambari ya Kenya 254 hapo mwanzoni. Email knkinambuga@gmail.com. If you loved this, you'll definitely love his other works and his new book.